Hi everyone and welcome. My name is Mindy and today's video is the first in many collaboration sets with Says Stamp for STAMPtember. Today's set is featuring Home for the Holidays by Lawn Fawn. If you are not familiar with STAMPtember, I will talk about it in just a moment when I get to my coloring. I'm going to be doing a Copic coloring of my images. We have these adorable images as always from Lawn Fawn, and I did pull in a couple trees from a previously released stamp set. I will have everything linked down below in the video description. Keep in mind though that this STAMPtember set is exclusive to Simon Says Stamp and only available while supplies last. I had laid out all my images in my Misti tool and I am using Express It cardstock and I stamped it in jet black ink from Lawn Fawn. Now I will have a coordinating blog post that's going to go with this, and it's going to mainly just list the supplies out that I'm using and also give you a list of the Copic colors that I'm using if you're interested in that. So as I'm getting underway with my Copic coloring, because there's quite a bit to do here, I want to talk to you about STAMPtember. STAMPtember is a month-long celebration between so many wonderful stamping companies and Simon Says Stamp. These stamp sets are exclusive to Simon Says Stamp, so you will not find them anywhere else and they will not be released. Now, a big thing about this is that when they sell out, they are gone, they're not restocked, they don't go back to the company, they're gone, unfortunately. So if it is a stamp you're interested in, be sure to head over and grab it as soon as you can. A lot of the stamp sets do sell out fairly quickly. And I am going to be sharing as much inspiration as I can with each of these. My plan is to have a video for each one. So there's going to be something every day of September. My YouTube channel and blog is going to be just hopping with inspiration. Now, if you're seeing this later or it's sold out before you could get to it, please keep in mind this is all just for fun. A lot of the things that I'm doing in my videos, you can incorporate with products you may already have. For example, I am doing Copic coloring today, and I'm also using products that are still available from past releases. Now, some things that you can get out of these videos are maybe techniques, or in this case, the Copic markers or the color combinations that I'm using, which is why I'm going to be having a coordinating blog post for everything so that you can always refer back to that and it's going to be there and you can use on your cards as well. Now in this case, for this particular stamp set, which has these adorable puppies in these little hats and one holding a gingerbread, I really was feeling a winter scene, and I will be pulling in some dies that had just released from the holiday release. Now, if it's a scene that interests you, if you like the design of the card, you could look through if you already have some cute critter images that you could use in this type of scene, that would be really great. So as long as there's still some inspiration that you can pull out of the video. Now to help set my scene, I always like to go back to some other stamp sets that I have. For instance, those trees at the top that I had colored in. It's one of my favorite stamp sets, and for the life of me, I can't remember which one it is. I will have it linked in the description on my blog too, but I always like to have stamps like that are just kind of filler images, so they help fill in my scene a little bit. And just as a little disclaimer that once in a while, there can be nasty comments left just because they might have missed out on a stamp set or do not like how STAMPtember works. And I just want to advise you that any not so nice comments will be removed. I don't let those sit there because I don't want to see them. This is really all in fun. Inspiration for cards, techniques, things like that. So I'm just kind of forewarning you that I will remove anything that is not positive. I like to keep positivity on my channel, and I don't want bad comments to bring me down. So I just wanted to put that little disclaimer out there going forward. And I already do it, but I know with STAMPtember, things can get a little heated because somebody might have missed out. And I do apologize if that happens. Now at this point, I do have a lot of my images colored in. I have some little presents up there that I did in red and gold, really keeping with the traditional Christmas colors. And we have that little pup with a Santa hat, another one with the reindeer antlers I thought was super cute, the dog house with the cute Christmas lights. And I love all three of these different pups and the different styles that they are. So I really went through my Copic marker stash and tried to pick out three really different Copic color combinations The bottom pup, down in the bottom right, I did bring in a few colors that were Olo markers. So those are going to be listed out too. I'm just going to finish up coloring my doghouse. And there is, I believe, a coordinating die that you can purchase for this set, which is what I used to die cut out my images. So I just used some Easy C tape to hold those dies in place and run those through my die cut machine. Now the scene that I'm going to create is going to be using the Winter Wonderland window from Lawn Fawn. It has 2 layers of a frame. I die cut out the main frame out of this Pastel Shimmer cardstock. Once I die cut out the window, I placed that over some white cardstock, placed the second frame inside of that so I could keep my margins even all the way around, and then die cut that out of just that white. So I used the first panel as my guide. So you can see how these layer up and I have that beautiful snowflake window. The next thing I want to do is ground my images. So I want to add some snowy hills to the background. I have white cardstock that I lined up right next to my window so I could get an idea where my first hill is going to be. And then I just flipped my cardstock so I could go up just a little bit higher to create a second hill. And I am using the Lawn Fawn stitched hillside border to do that. Now I went ahead and laid out the images how I wanted them to be in my window, and I'm bringing out the Spiffier Speckles paper pack to add a background. I probably should have picked maybe one with a little bit more color because it's hard to see in video, but this is like a white with maybe some light blue speckles in the background. I went ahead, trimmed that to 4 1/4 by 5 1/2 and added it to a side folding card base. Now I'm going to go ahead and add my hills together so that they're in place. I don't have them attached to my card front just yet. They're just attached together. And for my first frame, I added some foam strips. This is going to help create that dimension and lift it off from the snowflakes just a little bit. I removed the backing of those foam strips and added that over my snowflake window panel. Now to put my scene together, I'm adding the Tombow Tape runner to the edges of my stitched hills and to the bottom. And then I'm going to place this behind my snowflake window. The reason I didn't put that tape up any higher is I want to be able to bring my images in and be able to tuck them so it looks like they're kind of peeking in off of the edge. I like having that where not everything is so centered. I like having it kind of peeking in from each of the sides or even down below. So most of this I'm going to be adding into the images just using my tape runner. It was a little easier because if I wanted to move things, I still had that time versus liquid glue that might dry or possibly rip the paper. At least with the tape runner, I had more of the wiggle room to move things around and tuck them in. So I tried to add as many images from the stamp set as I could without overcrowding it. I love these 2 little puppies and just how snuggly and fluffy they look. And then of course, having my trees in the background just kind of ties in the whole scene. For attaching this to the card front, which I can go ahead and do, I am using a thin foam tape because I still wanted to have something kind of popping it up a little bit from that pattern paper background that I have. And then to remove the backing for this, I need to use a craft pick because the thin foam tape, it's pretty sticky, so that craft pick really helps to remove the backing of that. Now, the last thing that I need to do is add a sentiment. So this is from that Home for the Holidays stamp set. I'm placing it onto some chili pepper cardstock, which is from Lawn Fawn. I'm going to prep that with an anti-static powder tool, and then I'm going to ink up that stamp set with some embossing ink, stamp that down a couple times, make sure I'm getting a really good impression because it's brand new, so I haven't used that sentiment before, and then I can sprinkle on some gold embossing powder. I thought gold was just kind of a nice change up. White would have probably stood out a lot more, but I really like the gold, and the reason I chose the red is because it's going to help kind of pull in the other red images that I have in my card or in my scene. So I'm die cutting out that sentiment using the Everyday Sentiments banner. I use that die set a ton from Lawn Fawn, and I'm just going to add it to the front of the card using my tape runner. And of course, I can't finish off these cute critters without adding some white gel pen highlights. that finishes off the card project. So I hope you enjoyed this cute little winter scene with these adorable pups. And as I mentioned, all of the supplies will be listed down below in the video description, and the Copic marker combinations will be listed over on my blog. Thank you for joining me today, and I'll be back very soon with another card tutorial.